Hi, friends. Today I'd like to talk about something that I think most of us experience at some point in life: outgrowing friendships. If you've ever looked at someone who used to be one of the closest people in your life and wondered, what happened to us? Then you're definitely not alone. And I'm not talking about friendships that ended because of betrayal or some huge argument. I'm talking about the quieter kind, the friendships that slowly change, the ones where nobody really does anything wrong, yet somehow things just aren't the same anymore. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because friendship is one of those things we rarely question when it's going well. We assume the people who are important to us today will always be important in exactly the same way. But life doesn't really work like that. People change, life changes. And sometimes you wake up one day and realize you're not quite the same person you were when that friendship began. Maybe your priorities changed. Maybe your interests changed. Maybe you've gone through experiences that shaped you in ways you never expected. And the other person has been changing too, sometimes in the same direction, sometimes not. And I think that's where things start to feel confusing, because when a friendship becomes distant, many of us immediately start looking for a reason. Who messed up? Who stopped trying? Who changed? But sometimes there isn't a dramatic answer. Sometimes nobody did anything wrong. Two people just start moving in different directions, little by little, until one day the distance becomes impossible not to notice. And honestly, I think that's harder to accept. At least when there's a clear reason, there's something to point to. But when a friendship simply fades, we're often left with questions that don't have neat answers. I think one of the hardest parts is that our memories don't always catch up right away. We remember who someone used to be. We remember the conversations, the inside jokes, the support they gave us during difficult times. And because those memories are real, we keep expecting the relationship to feel the way it once did. But sometimes we're holding on to a version of the friendship that no longer exists. And that's painful, not because the memories weren't real, but because they were. I've noticed that many friendships begin because of shared circumstances. Maybe you met at school, at work. Maybe you lived in the same neighborhood. Maybe you were both going through similar struggles. Maybe you simply happened to be in the same place at the same time. Those things create connection. But when life changes, the foundation of the friendship sometimes changes too. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The difficult part is that nobody really teaches us how to navigate it. We're taught how to make friends. We're taught how to be a good friend. But nobody really talks about what happens when two people start growing in different directions. And because of that, a lot of us carry guilt. We think maybe we're not trying hard enough. Maybe we're being selfish. Maybe we're giving up too easily. But sometimes the real question isn't whether you're trying hard enough. Maybe the real question is this: are you trying to maintain the friendship because it still feels healthy and meaningful today? Or are you trying to hold on because you're afraid of letting go of what it used to be? Those are two very different things. And honestly, I've had moments where I had to ask myself that question. I've had friendships where I kept wondering if I should try harder, maybe call more, maybe text more, maybe somehow fix whatever felt different. And eventually I realized there wasn't actually anything broken. We were just in different seasons of life. That realization was sad, but it was also strangely freeing because it allowed me to stop treating change like a failure. Maybe you've experienced something similar. Maybe you've been carrying responsibility for a friendship that simply evolved. Sometimes we assume that if a relationship changes, someone must have failed. But maybe that's not always true. Maybe sometimes change is just change. Another thing I've noticed is that growth can feel uncomfortable inside relationships, and this part can be a little awkward to talk about. Sometimes you start healing, you start setting boundaries, you become more confident, or maybe you become interested in completely different things. And suddenly, the dynamic changes. Not because you're better than someone else, not because they're worse than you, just because you're no longer looking for the same things from life. I've seen this happen with people who genuinely care about each other. There's still kindness, still respect, but the connection doesn't feel as natural as it once did. And that's okay. At least I think it can be. Because not every friendship is meant to serve the same role forever. Some friendships stay with us for decades. Others walk beside us for a few years. Some arrive exactly when we need them most, and then slowly become part of our history. That doesn't make them less important. In fact, sometimes those friendships leave the deepest impact. One practical experiment you can try this week is very simple. Take a piece of paper and write down the names of 3 people you consider important friends. Then ask yourself 3 questions. How do I usually feel after spending time with this person? Do we support who each other are becoming today? Am I connected to this friendship because of the present or mostly because of the past? There are no right or wrong answers. You don't need to judge anything. Just notice what comes up. Sometimes clarity appears when we stop forcing ourselves to have the correct answer. And maybe you'll realize that some friendships still feel alive and nourishing. Maybe you'll realize others are being carried mostly by old memories. Both observations are okay. They're simply information. Something else I've been thinking about is that not every friendship has to end completely. Sometimes friendships just change shape. Maybe you talk once every few months instead of every day. Maybe years pass between conversations. And yet, when you reconnect, there's still warmth there, there's still care. I've actually come to appreciate friendships like that more as I've gotten older. There's something comforting about knowing that a relationship doesn't have to look the way it did 10 years ago in order to still matter. Maybe maturity is learning to let relationships evolve instead of trying to freeze them in time. Because if we're being honest, we're all changing every year, every challenge, every lesson, every mistake. We're all becoming slightly different versions of ourselves. Some people continue walking beside us, others take a different path. And neither outcome automatically means something went wrong. If you're grieving a friendship that no longer feels the same, I just want to leave you with one thought. The fact that a friendship change does not erase what it once meant. The memories were real. The laughter was real. The support was real. The connection mattered. You don't have to rewrite the past simply because the present looks different. Maybe that's part of growing up, realizing that not every person is meant to walk beside us forever. Some do, some don't, and maybe that's okay. The fact that someone became important to your story doesn't mean they have to stay in every chapter. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is appreciate what a friendship gave us, carry the good memories forward, and allow both people the freedom to keep growing. Take what resonates with you and leave the rest. If you'd like to support the channel, you can visit my Etsy shop through the link below. Your support helps me continue creating videos like this and helps keep this little corner of the internet going. Thank you for spending a little time with me today. And if you enjoy these calm conversations about life, personal growth, spirituality, and the questions we all carry from time to time, I'd love to have you here. Feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.